Good evening and welcome to California Today. I'm Bill Thomas and here's a preview of some of today's top stories. Over a dozen felons were arrested in one Northern California county. They're allegedly responsible for a series of shootings revolved around Sikh communities. The violence dates back to 2018. An organization is demanding accountability after champion swimmer Riley Gaines was attacked by a group of protesters in San Francisco. The group wants the school to teach students the difference between free speech and violence. And Korean food is gaining recognition in the West ahead of a visit from South Korea's president to the U.S. The House of Representatives has designated an official Kimchi Day. Authorities in Northern California say they recently arrested over a dozen men from two rival gangs. They're allegedly responsible for a shooting at a Sikh temple last month and a brutal sword attack at a parade in 2018.
Sutter County District Attorney Jennifer Dupre announced on Monday authorities have made 17 felony arrests belonging to the two syndicates who were responsible for multiple shootings where 11 people were shot. This includes 5 people at a Sikh temple in Stockton last year and 2 more victims at a temple in Sacramento last month.
20 search warrants were served. The results of these search warrants were 17 arrests, 5 outstanding arrest warrants, and overall during the investigation, 41 firearms were seized. Those firearms include AR-15s, AK-47s, handguns, and at least 1 machine gun.
None of the victims died. Dupre said all of the men arrested are part of California's Sikh community and were members of one of 2 rival groups whose feud was fueled by intense personal connections.
So some of the motivation is still a little murky. This started out as one group and one faction broke off, and since then they have been rivals trying to outdo each other. Mainly they show up places and try to shoot each other is honestly what it boils down to at the most basic level.
Dupre said the violence began in 2018 at an annual Sikh parade in Yuba City, one of the largest South Asian festivals held outside of the Indian subcontinent. There, a man was beaten so hard with a sword that it broke. The violence soon escalated to shootings, including one at a wedding party in 2021. The violence caught authorities' attention, who launched an investigation. The investigation intensified in March when authorities learned of potential violence at a Sikh parade in Sacramento. Dupre said police stopped 2 cars before they reached the parade, arresting 7 people and seizing 4 handguns and 2 other guns with large-capacity magazines. A shooting still happened at the parade, injuring 2 people, but Dupre said a mass casualty incident was prevented. Altogether, police seized 41 guns during the investigation, including a weapon described as a machine gun. Dupre said the men have not had a court appearance yet. It's not clear if they have attorneys yet who can speak on their behalf.
Now to Southern California, where some city officials are trying to tackle the homeless crisis in Los Angeles. Mayor Karen Bass proposed a $1.3 billion budget yesterday. A large chunk of that budget would be used for housing and treatment programs for the city's homeless population. The budget would also include funds for substance abuse treatment beds. Over 1,000 people have enrolled in the proposed program so far. About half of the city's 40,000 homeless struggle with drug or alcohol addiction, and about a third have serious mental illnesses. The Democratic mayor was elected in November after promising to take on the crisis. The city's previous mayor signed a budget in 2021 with close to $1 billion in homeless spending. Despite that, the homeless population has increased dramatically. The natural gas debate continues. A federal appeals court in California has overturned a law. It banned new construction from using natural gas appliances in the city of Berkeley, but restaurant owners argued that the city bypassed federal regulations when the measure was approved.
Berkeley's ban on natural gas appliances took effect in 2020. It banned the installation of natural gas piping in new residential and commercial buildings in favor of electrical lines. But the California Restaurant Association then filed a lawsuit saying the regulation violated federal law, which gives the U.S. government authority to set energy efficiency standards for appliances, such as stoves, furnaces, and water heaters. Moreover, the Restaurant Association said that the ban could end up eroding the region's reputation for fine and creative dining, as a lack of natural gas cooking leaves restaurants unable to prepare many of their specialties. Opposition groups are expected to appeal the ruling.
Earlier this month, NCAA swimmer Riley Gaines was attacked by a group of protesters at San Francisco State University, and now one organization is demanding accountability. The group wants the school to take responsibility for the attack and educate their students on the distinction between free speech and violent disruptions.
A constitutional rights legal organization is demanding accountability for the, quote, mob censorship that took place on April 6 at San Francisco State University, or SFSU. Amanda Nordstrom, the program officer with the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, or FIRE, is requesting SFSU address the attack and educate students on the distinction between protected protests and disruptive conduct. In the April 11th letter addressed to University President Lynn Mahoney, Nordstrom says, quote, FIRE is seriously concerned by SFSU's failure to address the anti-free speech actions of some protesters at last week's Turning Point USA event that featured NCAA swimmer Riley Gaines speaking on women's sports and transgender athletes. 22-year-old Riley Gaines, a former NCAA swimmer, was speaking at the university about the ethical problems with allowing biological males to compete in women's sports before she was attacked by a group of protesters and held hostage. Since the attack, the university police department has stated that there have been no arrests. And Jamila Moore, vice president for the Student Affairs and Enrollment Management, also sent an email to students thanking them for a peaceful protest. Videos of the incident have gone viral online. Many have taken to Twitter questioning Moore's assertion that the protest was peaceful and are outraged that the school is not condemning the violence of the rioters. According to Nordstrom, SFSU should have done more to ensure freedom of speech without considerable interference. She says that universities nationwide have a responsibility to ensure students on not only their First Amendment rights, but also the rights of others. SFSU has until April 18th to provide a response.
There's a saying that goes, nothing brings people together like good food. That proved to be true during a recent vote in the U.S. House of Representatives. A bipartisan group of congressional leaders introduced a resolution that seeks to designate an official Kimchi Day. This comes in anticipation of a visit from South Korea's president to the U.S. later this month.
4 representatives introduced a bipartisan congressional resolution that would designate November 22nd as Kimchi Day. Kimchi is a spicy Korean side dish made with salted and fermented vegetables that are combined with garlic, ginger, and other spices. It has a rich history that began over 2 millennia ago. The bill was introduced by 2 Republicans, California's Michelle Steele and Young Kim, and 2 Democrats, Washington's Marilyn Strickland and New Jersey's Andy Kim. It's being pushed in light of South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol's scheduled visit to the U.S. on April 26th. Officials from Congresswoman Kim's office say the effort also comes ahead of the 70th anniversary of the U.S.-South Korea alliance. Kim said in a statement, kimchi has transformed from a staple Korean dish to a culinary icon that reflects growing Korean cultural influence in the United States since the first Korean immigrants arrived more than a century ago. Making and enjoying kimchi has been in my family's tradition for generations. The resolution aligns with South Korea, which also designates November 22nd as National Kimchi Day.
We'll take a short break now, but here's a look at what we have for you when we come back. Today is tax day, and most Americans are scrambling to finish filing their taxes. But for the majority of Californians, the filing deadline has been extended due to the impact of this year's winter storms. And National Park Week is coming up next week. To celebrate, Google is planning to roll out new features like trail and cycling routes on Google Maps. Those stories and more coming up on California Today. Welcome back to California Today. I'm your host, Bill Thomas. Today is tax day, but for the majority of California residents, the deadline has been automatically extended to October 16th. NTD's David Zhang spoke to Caroline Chen, a San Jose State University professor specializing in taxation. She explains what the extension means for tax filers in the Golden State.
One misconception people have about the automatic extension is that everybody in California doesn't have to worry about filing until October 16th.
Well, it is true for everybody except for the people that live in 3 counties. Because we actually, almost every single one of the counties in California, because of the winter storms, has been declared a federal disaster area. And as soon as those counties were declared federal disaster areas, then the IRS, as well as our own state, the Franchise Tax Board, decided to automatically extend the filing date for all tax returns to October 16th.
According to the website of the State Franchise Tax Board, those counties are Lassen, Modoc, and Shasta. Residents in those 3 counties still must file tax returns today along with the rest of the country. But for the majority of Californians who do get to enjoy the extra time, the extension not only applies to individuals but also to the businesses they run. And there won't be penalties or additional interest charged on tax owed during the extension period. Now, what if you owe taxes? Most people are probably going to get a refund when they file. But what if they owe taxes when they file in October? Would it be interest charged from today on to October?
So normally that would be the case, except for the fact that the IRS has indicated that any payments that would be due are also going to be automatically extended as well. Now, if there's a situation that happens where there may be a penalty because of the situation that the taxpayer is in, then the taxpayer can contact the Internal Revenue Service and try to negotiate the penalty away. Because, again, the fact that we're living in California and we've been declared federal disaster area.
The extension also applies to those self-employed individuals making estimated tax quarterly.
So that has also been extended, although I would caution people who do have to make estimated tax payments maybe not to wait until the October 16th date, because you'd have to make all of the payments all at once. So if you are able to pay along the way, I would suggest doing that, although those estimated tax payments have also been extended.
Chen also reminds everyone that extension is not a license to procrastinate.
I would urge you not to wait too long to get really, really close to that October deadline. Because again, you'll forget about the job that you have. You'll accidentally forget about what you just said, downloading the 1099 that's available to you. And so I would urge people, as soon as they're able to gather up all their documents and things that they need and really just sit down and just prepare taxes, and then they'll be done, and then just file electronically.
She also has some advice for taxpayers.
So I think the first thing that I would advise taxpayer is that if you're getting a refund, please don't be surprised if your refund is smaller. If you are potentially owing money, please don't be surprised that you might owe more than you expected. Because what happened for the 22 year is all of the COVID-19 law that went to go help taxpayers expired. And so 22 is just like any other year. So child tax credit increases drop back down to their normal levels. A lot of other different sort of credits and additional payments. Remember the economic stimulus payments? So the economic stimulus payments were not paid. And you were not, and normally, and when they were paid, they weren't taxed. So whatever amount of income you're making, that's going to be fully taxed. And so I think that a lot of taxpayers are caught a little bit off guard for the 22 year because they were able to receive rather robust refunds and maybe owe a little bit less in the 20 year and the 21 year. But 22 is just like any other tax year.
Chen says the most common clerical error she sees is when transposing numbers.
So I think the most common clerical error is to transpose numbers, right? So it's supposed to be a 2 and the 3. You're working on your computer and you write 3-2 instead. And so that doesn't line up, right, with the information that your employer provided to the IRS. And of course, if you make that in the cents area, maybe it won't be that big of a deal. But if you're pulling that over into the tens of thousands area and you're transposing numbers, that could obviously run you into a bit of trouble. A lot of times, I think another common error is that people forget maybe they had like a job just for a few months or something to that extent, or maybe a project that they worked on for like a couple of weeks and they were paid, but then the person who employed them or the employer doesn't send them the W-2 or the 1099. And, they might have sent it to the IRS, but maybe not to you. And so then you're human, so you forget about it. And then you don't put it on your return. And then, of course, you're missing income. And that can also cause you to be picked up for audit as well.
She encourages people to double-check all information is accurate before submitting a filing to avoid being picked for audits.
California has 9 national parks, the most in any state. Now, finding your way around the parks across the state just got a little easier with a new Google Map update. That's because Google Maps is rolling out new features to help you explore. The company says its updated app will generally help you navigate your way around the park you're visiting and assist you in discovering things to do and see. This includes trail routes and cycling directions. The updated app also lets you download a park map to use later without internet access. If you're interested in visiting one of the more than 400 national parks in the U.S., here's some good news. Entrance fees to all national parks will be waived this Saturday, the first day of National Park Week. Let's check in now with NTD's Carlos Reyes for today's Sports Roundup, where 2 San Jose players are beginning to make a name for themselves.
Thanks, Bill. This is your California Sports Roundup, and I'm Carlos Reyes.
Fox scored 24 points and made a back-breaking three-pointer that led the playoff newcomer Kings to an 114-106 win Monday night for their second straight victory over the Golden State Warriors. The Kings closed the game strong after Green was ejected for a flagrant foul against Domantas Sabonis. They became the first team to take a 2-0 series lead over the Warriors in the Stephen Curry era. The Warriors will try to get back into the series in San Francisco for Game 3 on Thursday night. The game got heated in the fourth quarter when Green stomped on Sabonis' chest with 7 minutes and 3 seconds to play, leading to an ejection for a flagrant foul. During the review, fans in Sacramento yelled derogatory chants towards Green, who egged them on by waving his hands, holding a hand to his ear, calling for louder cheers. Sabonis finished the game, but Coach Mike Brown said he was undergoing x-rays afterwards to check his condition. Now it will be up to the NBA to determine whether an ejection is all that was warranted or if Green will face a possible suspension. The Warriors fought back to tie the game before the Kings went on a 17-8 run. Fox's three-pointer made it 107-101 with 2 minutes and 17 seconds left to play, and the Kings were in control from there. Davion Mitchell put it away with another 3 that made it 112-103. Alex Iafallo scored the overtime winner as Los Angeles erased a 2-goal deficit in the third period and edged host Edmonton in the opening game of their Western Conference first round playoff series. Game 2 of the best of 7 series will be Wednesday in Edmonton. Kings 4, Oilers 3. Hunter Renfroe hit a home run and drove in 4 runs as visiting Los Angeles used a fast start to earn a victory over Boston in the annual Patriots Day game at Fenway Park. The Angels salvaged the finale of the 4-game series. Los Angeles' Tucker Davidson gave up 1 run on 3 hits over 3 innings to earn the win after taking over for Shohei Ohtani. The second rain delay of the day limited Ohtani's start to 2 innings, in which he gave up a run with 3 strikeouts. Rafael Devers hit a 1-out single in the 9th to cut the Red Sox deficit to a single run. However, the Angels' Carlos Estevez stranded 2 on base for his second save. Angels 5, Red Sox 4. In today's MLS, it's rare to find teams with representation on the national team when the federation continues to choose players that compete abroad. San Jose Earthquakes midfielder Jackson Yueill and homegrown forward Cade Cowell are amongst the 23 players called to represent the United States men's national team in the inaugural All-State Continental Clásico versus Mexico on April 19th. When asked about Yueill's performance and his national team selection, head coach Luchi Gonzalez was quick to sing the midfielder's praises. Yueill, age 26, has made 16 prior appearances for the senior U.S. national team, most recently appearing in a friendly versus Bosnia in December of 2021. He helped the U.S. win the 2021 CONCACAF Gold Cup. Cowell, age 19, is the 3rd youngest player on the roster and one of 4 players age eligible for the 2024 Summer Olympics in Paris. He has made 2 prior appearances for the senior national team, and in his debut, he was named Man of the Match. Yueill didn't hide his excitement at the thought of getting to share the field with his teammate while donning the Stars and Stripes. Both players look set to represent both their nation and the Earthquakes in this upcoming international friendly. Make sure to follow the action on Wednesday at the University of Phoenix Stadium in Glendale, Arizona.
That is it for today's Sports Roundup. Thank you for watching. I'm Carlos Reyes.
That's all we have for you tonight, and we'd like you to join us again on California Today every weekday right here at 8:30 p.m. Also, please make sure to check out our broadcasts on our California Today webpage, and you can find that at ntd.com/California-Today. You can also find all of our top latest clips there ready to share with friends and family. And please send us a message on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, or through our email, and that's california.today@ntd.com. I'm Bill Thomas, and for all of us here in the newsroom, have a great night.